considering what does it mean to be in the long haul. There are many things that I've done in my life that actually required that, such as walking the Camino, 500 miles, and every day we're just getting a little closer, but it was just taking a little bit at a time when walking the El Camino. Otherwise you'd be a nervous wreck doing the whole thing. You really had to slow down and to really be very present to walk there, to complete it, to actually mentally and physically complete it. And also my sister and I took a very long, over 2-month journey to Alaska. It was somewhere in the middle as we were heading out. I believe it was my Ohio breakdown, or no, Indiana breakdown, where I completely lost it, thinking, what in the world are we doing on the road? And how, I mean, it just seemed like Alaska was so far away, and it was, but my energy was not right to be able to handle something that was going to be taking that long. So I had a breakdown, total, absolute breakdown, and then kind of had to reform my thinking, to kind of pull myself together in a way that went for the marathon, that went for the long haul. Thank God I did that, because by the time I did the Camino, I already had this under my belt, and I'm bringing it all back up again as we are dealing with this virus, because it's not going away anytime soon. So this is a place where we really need to use that part of our practice, which allows us to move inward and stay in the present moment, because that is really what we have. If we do that, you won't wear yourself out. It's one of those. We really want to be able to sustain our energy and our attention span and our ability to cope. And the way you do that is to, for me, in my physical body, is to hug the midline. So we'll do a lot of hugging of the midline today. I really, especially during this time, I find that I am hugging the midline more times, well, many times during the day, probably most of the day. So I want you to imagine your center line. I always tell you to, I'm an artist, so of course I'm asking you to put a color to it, put a texture to it, a line that goes from the top of the head all the way through down to your perineum and between your legs, so that you have something you are coming into. And on this midline, we are actually connecting energy centers in our body, and it's the hugging in and connecting of the energy centers that creates that center stability. So you want to really begin to make that real in your life as we move through this marathon pandemic that we're in. Index finger and thumb together in Chi Mudra. And again, just breathe into that center line. Mine is a magenta line. I don't want to miss it. It's a magenta neon light. That's what I need. So I'm just connecting into my neon light, letting the sits bones and the legs be earthy, heavy onto the earth. And I like to move from a place that is stable. So as you begin to feel your hips and your legs become part of the earth, then lift up through the spine and breathe all the way down into the belly. So you're going to do a deep breath that will engage your diaphragm. And let your mind begin to settle and quiet. And you give that length. Give the inhale some length. See, it's not just the regular breath that we take just to breathe and go about our business. This is a conscious breath, moving all the way down into the belly. And let the exhale be that same length of time. And the exhale is actually almost more important than the inhale. You may want to bring a little bit more length to the exhale. When we begin to work the breath and prana in this way, it makes the whole body and mind begin to pay attention, to come into this present moment. bring your breath into the belly. Then let it rise all the way up to the lungs, and then all the way up to the base of the neck. And as you bring your breath all the way up to the base of the neck, when you're there, hold and pause at the very top of the inhale. Just let there be a space. And then consciously exhale out from the throat, down into the lungs, and then again into the belly. And already we begin to awaken the center line inside of us, the midline. So breathing on that midline. You can begin to feel the energy around you and the energy on your skin begin to change, or you're aware of the energy more acutely. Do a few more deep breaths here. And then with your next exhale, whenever that happens for you, allow your chin to come down to the chest and breathe into the opening of the neck and the upper part of the back. You may have tension here. Again, just bring some patience, bring your breath, a deeper breath. Know that with each breath and with each awareness, things settle a little bit more. Your nervous system begins to settle and you can connect into that inner landscape. And your chin will travel down to your chest in a natural way with the exhale as you release a little bit more. And then let your fingers come off of your thighs and let them come to either side of your hip onto the floor. And let your hands move all the way up. And inhale into the seated sun breath. And then turn the palms and exhale with your fingertips down. And chin to the chest. And then the palms roll upward again. Arms and gaze all the way up. Turn the palms and exhale. Fingertips down. And chin to the chest. And then the palms roll upward again, full celebration of taking this breath all the way up. Turn the palms and exhale. And last time, palms roll all the way up. Hands go to pray over your head, Anjali Mudra, and then down to your heart center. And this week I've been doing the Lotus Mudra. So let your pinky come together and your thumb come together. And let your 3 other fingers open like the lotus at your heart center. And close your eyes. This is in my body, this is a very powerful mudra. Just not only allows me to open my heart a little bit more, but I feel like a lot of power is coming into it. I feel clarity when I do this. It's just an invitation to the divine, to be part of the practice, to be part of our daily experience. Just allowing this moment and breathing into this space. Take a few of your own deep breaths. Inhale and exhale long. Inhale long, exhale, a little longer exhale. And invite a prayer into your practice. Just pray for whatever it is you feel you would like to place an intention onto your practice. Could be personal, could be global, and whatever it is, whatever is calling to your heart today. And then holding that intention in your heart, let's bring our hands back together and stay in a seated pose for a minute. And here, let's wiggle up a little bit out of our hips. And then create a circle going all the way around. I want you to make the circle as large as you can, keeping your sits bones onto the floor. So you're well aware of when you're over to the left, how your right hip needs to ground. And when you're over to the right, how your left hip needs to ground. So I want you to do this with awareness of watching how your body opens and expands. And then reverse the circle, go in the opposite direction. It's going to feel different. So just notice how it feels different. Is there more awareness on one side than the other? Good. And then release and come all the way back. With your left hand onto the floor, right arm reaches up, and we're keeping the right hip down. Now engage your belly in towards the spine to grab the right hip a little bit more, and then stretch your fingers to the left. Doing a deep breath into the right side body. And then release and come all the way back up. Right hand onto the floor, left arm reaches up. And again, with your core, belly in towards the spine, root the left hip down to create more of an opening on the left side. Fingers are alive. Don't let your fingers just kind of floppy out. We're really bringing intention to poses, to the class. Fingers are like straight out and reaching with an intention. And then release and come all the way back. Roll over your legs and come into the table pose. Fingerprints down back of the palm, knuckles down. We're going to go this way. Exhale into a cat. And then inhale, cow. Make sure the head of the arm bone is moving. I don't know if you can see that on my Zoom here. And exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Now let's move the head of the arm bone. Just allow for a rounding here. Head down towards the floor. Tailbone under into a cat. Move the head of the arm bone first. Then let the rest of the body go into the cow. Tail up and gaze up. One more time. Exhale into a cat. Moving the head of the arm bone. Inhale into a cow. Good. And from here, just come into a downward dog in enough position to just kind of walk your feet and walk your hands and let your head go down towards the floor. Arms swing out to the side as we inhale all the way up and hands go to prayer over your head. So we'll do a couple of just sun salves. For a moment, just let the head of the arm bone up and around first before we even do that. From the back to the front. Nice deep breath. And then coming back to stillness, find your Tadasana, the mountain pose, where your feet are solid onto the earth. Head of the arm bone. Now imagine that line, that midline. Good. Arms reach all the way up. And when you reach up your hands, you're touching the midline from the upper part. So your arms are hugging in. Exhale and fold. Shins go slightly forward, thighs back, head down towards the floor. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, fold. From here, let the right foot go back into the runner stretch. Nice deep breath. Your hand should be on either side of your foot, not above it, not below it. Right there, so you can actually breathe your heart open. Take the left hip back. Top of the right thigh lifts up, and you're engaging your quads by pressing your heel back behind you. With a nice deep breath. Bring your right foot up to meet the left. Head down towards the floor. Arms swing out to the side as we inhale all the way back up. Exhale and fold. Shins forward, thighs back. And then bring your left foot back into the runner stretch. Hands on either side of your right foot. So find that position first. Open your front body. Don't let it just collapse in here. You're extending through the spine. Right hip back. You're on the toe mounds of your left foot, pressing your left heel back. So you're engaging your quads. Nice deep breath. Not only stretching your hamstring, but engaging your quads. That's hugging into the midline. Good. Then let the left foot come up to meet the right. Head down towards the floor. Arms swing out to the side as we inhale all the way up. Hands go to prayer over your head and then down to the heart. So, from here, let your hands go down. Move the head of the arm bone up toward the ear and back. I want you to just stretch your right foot out to the side. So you're balancing on the left and you're hugging into the midline. It's a balance, right? Exhale out. Whoops, here I go. Takes a lot. Hug the leg in. Good. And then release that, shake that out. So we're hugging into the midline here. Good. Come into Tadasana, the mountain pose. Left leg is going to go out. And you're hugging in to the center. Exhale out. And hug into the center. Good. Begin to really make that line between your legs, your perineum, heart, head, as they're all beginning to connect. All right, so we're going to come up again into Tadasana. Can you feel the midline between your arms? Can you feel energy between your arms? Okay, so begin to make that line real. Exhale and fold. Shins forward, thighs back, right foot back into the runner stretch. From here, you're on the toe mound. So you're not on the toe creases. You're pressing your foot back enough to be on the toe mounds. So find that difference. It's a little more stability onto your right foot. Press your right heel back as you lift up into a high lunge. Take the top of the right thigh back, arms reach up. We still are holding that midline, right from the head all the way down. You're hugging between the legs, hugging in. Nice deep breath. So in a pose that isn't quite so difficult, you can begin to use these principles and release, come all the way back. Right foot comes up to meet the left foot back into the runner stretch. So position your back leg, because the back leg is king, because that leg is helping you balance your torso that is heavy and over your right leg. So press, press, press into the back foot. That's allowing you to come up, engage into the midline again. You can feel the energy between your legs. Arms reach all the way up with a nice deep breath. Breathe here. Then release. Come all the way back. Hands onto the floor. Step back into downward dog. So you're going to walk the dog, one heel up, one heel down, fingerprints down, back of the palm knuckles down. What I want you to do is collapse the pose. I want you to overstretch your shoulders. You can see it here. I'm collapsing down. Nice deep breath. All things not to do, but for a moment we're going to be in contrast. Hugging your arms in towards one another. You're going to lift the head of the arm bone up. Then you're going to take the bottom part of the rib cage up towards the spine. Now for those that have tight hamstrings, you're going to bend your knees. I'm going to show it with bent knees. Take the top of the thighs back. Now can you feel your midline from between your legs through the torso? Your ankles are hugging in towards one another. Engage your belly into that line, bottom part of the rib cage into that line, and you can take your hips way back. Now we're talking about a pose you can actually hold that is a relaxation pose. So then bend the knees, hop forward into Uttanasana, head down towards the floor, arms swing out to the side as we inhale all the way up. Hands go to pray over your head, and then down to the heart. All right, block time. Grab a block. You can begin to feel some of those things. The point is to hug, to make that midline really out. What you're doing is activating the centers of Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, Jalanhara Bandha. Remember the head back, head skull loop? Grabbing all those together and bringing it all the way down from your foot all the way to the top of your head. Black between your legs, bend into your knees. So just take a moment to hold this. You're hugging the midline by holding your block in place, but I want you to feel your ankles coming in too. Your feet are solid onto the floor. I'm feeling that line all the way through my body. Now as we take this line, top of the thighs back. So when I'm doing this, I initially drop my rib cage. It's kind of a natural position to be in, at least in my body. I'm going to assume it'll be the same in yours. My rib cage in, bringing the rib cage in and engaging my back creates more strength for me to bring my arms up into Utkatasana and be able to breathe through the pose because all of my body is hugging into the midline. Can you feel that? Even a little piece of that into your practice. Good. Hold and a nice deep breath. Top of the thigh presses back, arms straight up. And then release and come all the way back. And shake that out. Just kind of breathe in. We're going to do that again, except we're going to add a twist to this. So I'm going to come this way. Feet solid onto the floor. Feet are really key to most, well, of course, to all standing poses, but for me, for all poses. Bend into the knees. Track your knees over your ankle. Hug in. So just feel that. Now, into that hug in, engage your belly into the spine. Bring your rib cage back. Now can you begin to feel like you can drop a little bit more. Arms reach all the way up with a nice deep breath. Keep the hug in. Left hand's crossing over. I want you to keep it high. Rotate the torso. Knees are straight in front of you. Breathing in, you're rotating around the midline. Can you see that? Here to here. I'm rotating around the midline. Good, nice release. Come all the way back. Keeping the block right there. Come into Uttanasana. With a nice deep breath. Bend the knees if you need to because of your hamstrings. If you can, keep your hips from going back here. Can you see that angle? You want hips over your ankle. And then take the inner groins back, head down. Nice deep breath. If that isn't available to you, try to keep your hips over your knees, over your ankle. Bend your knees and take the top of the thighs back. And breathe. It's all hugging. It's always opening your lower back, connecting that energy. Good. Arms reach all the way up. Hands go to prayer over your head. And then down to the heart. Other side. Woo! Alrighty. Come to just Tadasana. Hands in front. Breathing in. Let your breath go deep. Just kind of breathe into this open space. Maybe take deeper breaths. I think I need to take a few deeper breaths. Sometimes when I'm teaching, I'm so busy talking that I'm not breathing enough. Manny always likes to do water, and I like to do air. I'm sure he does both. All right, so we're going to bend into the knees. I digressed. Bend into the knees, hug in. Nice deep breath. Find that midline. See if you can connect into that line. Bring your arms up. Feel that energy right between your hands. Now keep that energy alive. We're taking the right hand down, crossing it over. My left hand still holding that space, like I have both hands up. Now I'm rotating around the midline. Hand to knee, knee to hand. Keep it high so you can keep the rotation in your waistline. Add the belly. Take the lower part of the rib cage in so you bring a little bit more of your back energy into the twist. Feel your midline. Good. Then release and come all the way back to center. Hands go to prayer over your head. Hold here for a moment. And just feel that line going right in between. The block is helping you. Now you have your hands. Breathe in. Good. Can bring back the color of your midline. And then release and come all the way back. And and shake that out. So keep your block, put it in front, Pasarada Padottanasana, feet are wide. Good, lift for a moment, keep feet parallel to one another, parallel to the short side of the mat. And again, you're gonna exhale and come forward. And notice how my rib cage goes down. I want to bring the rib cage up. It's an important refinement. So first of all, you're at a loss if your hips are going way, way back behind your knees. You got to keep it upright. More power in your feet. That's creating the midline. The minute you lose your feet connection, you bring whoopsie, I can't even hold that. All the power in my hips, I've lost my midline. So you gotta have the power in your feet, over your hips, come halfway, and breathe. A nice deep breath. Good. Hands on the block or hands on the floor, whatever works for you. If you can easily touch the floor, then please do. If that is not available to you, then use the block. I want you to bend into the left knee and inhale up, bend into the right. Whether you're using the floor or you're using the block, I don't want you to give your power to the block. I want you to stay right here in your core, like you had no block. Fingers are just lightly touching. Bend into the left, bend into the right. Now if you can take the inner groins back, make sure that the little toe out on both feet are solid. So 4 corners of the feet are down. That helps to hug in. So then you're going to release down, head towards the floor. Bring your hands to the outside of your shins and hug your shins in. Hugging in. Now take the top of the thighs back. This is a way of actually opening up your lower back a little bit more. Shins in, inner groins back, and breathe. If you can begin to feel a little bit of this in your body, you'll notice how therapeutic it is. This is part of yoga therapy. And bending down. So here I'm going to show you how hugging the midline will allow me to go into a handstand. Head down towards the floor. I'm hugging, 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 hugging my legs, just like I did in the beginning of the class, to come all the way up. You notice I'm going slow. Then opening the legs, taking the top of the thighs back, spreading my toes. Can you see how active my feet are? My toes. Then I come all the way back down and up. So, what I am teaching you with these principles allows you to feel secure in doing things that you may feel are outside of your purview, outside of your practice, and they're not. It's just, how do we get there? And this is what I love about Anusara, is that it gives me the tools to do simple things. Here, wide angle, shins in, thighs back. Okay, all these things are what I just did to do that headstand, the tripod headstand. So you're always building, but you've got to have that sense of the center. Okay, did anyone try? Does anyone want to try the headstand? Do I have any takers? We will work towards that. It would be my personal goal to actually see you all feel confident enough to be able to do that. A lot of that just has to do with hugging into the midline. All right, so let's take our feet mat width apart, and for a moment just let your hips rotate. I can tell you also that when you do an inversion, when you do inversions in the practice, your practice actually begins to take on a different shape because now we're literally going upside down. You're making the practice go upside down. So we don't often see the world that way. It's good to change up our world. COVID is kind of doing that for us, but you can do it in your own practice as well. Okay, so get your feet as wide as you can. We're going to move into, first, the ski racer's pose. Let's take the same principles. Here, you want your rib cage to be in. Although your hands are on your knees, you want to stay in your core. Just use your hands as a balance. Stay in your feet. So the four corners of the feet are wide, and you're hugging into the midline. From here, you're going to take your hips down. Adjust your feet how you need to come into Malasana. Elbows into the knees. Take a nice deep breath, hips down towards the earth, and you're extending through the spine. I'm hugging into the midline. Right here. Good. Nice deep breath. So reverse it, coming all the way back up. Feet parallel to one another now. Could be wide, could be mat width apart. Head down towards the floor. Arms swing out to the side as we inhale all the way up. Hands go to prayer over your head, and then down to the heart. All right, so we're going to try Bekasana, which is a crow pose. So we're going to have, how are our hips feeling? Do we need to do any more opening of the hips? Let's do one more opening of the hips. Let's take it into Virendrasana 2. One more open hip business. Hugging in. Can you feel it? And you're attached right between your legs. You're not hugging it here. You're just right in between your legs. Arms go out into a T position. You want your little chaman on the left side to be very active. And your inner spiraling, taking the top of the left thigh back. You can even bring your hand to the back of your leg and moving that hip back. It'll allow you to go a little further down in your right leg. Arms out in the T position. Clasp your hands behind you. Move the head of the arm bone up toward the ear and back. And slowly, kind of like how I did the headstand, right? Slowly bring your head down towards the floor so that you're adjusting your back leg the whole time. And your shoulders, your head of the arm bones need to go up faster than your torso going down. Inhale and come all the way back up. Just turn your feet so we're twisting the other way. Let's come into Virendrasana 2 to begin with. Release your hands. Take your right hand to the inner part of your thigh. Press it back. That'll take your hip back. We often do it from the front, but I'm taking you from the back of your leg this time. Arms reach out. Virendrasana 2, nice deep breath. Good, you want to make sure that your heel and your arch are in alignment with one another. You want to make sure your right thigh is back. Arms are out. You're going to clasp your hands. Now this is where I see most students lose the head of the arm bone. I want you to concentrate. Your feet are going to be solid onto the floor. Head of the arm bone up and back. For me to come forward, I need to keep moving my head of the arm bone towards the midline, towards the center. It has to move faster than my torso coming down into a humble warrior. What does it do in your body? If your head of the arm bone is going down towards the earth, you're not hugging into the midline. You want to keep moving your head of the arm bone up and back. And then inhale and come all the way back to center. Good. And shake it out. All right, so I'm going to do a whole class. Maybe next time I'll do a whole class just on shoulders. It's so important. But concept of moving into the midline is really key to that work as well. So we're going to come down onto the floor on your tippy toes. And you're going to bring your hands onto the floor. Bring your knees to the outside of your arms. So, Bakasana, the crow pose, we hug into the midline like crazy. So your forearms are hugging in. My knees are hugging into my arms, but my arms are resisting. So it's a hug in, and then there's another hug in, and you want to begin to lift your hips up. Now, you may not go to full crow. You may take one foot off, then the other. How do we balance this? My head and my hips are hugging into the midline. They're constantly hugging into that midline. So just see if you can come into whatever part. Could be that for you today, hands are going to be on the floor and you're just playing with your head coming forward. Just playing with it. But if you find you've got yourself a balance and your hips are able to move towards the back, then try to work the whole pose. Good. So gotta keep trying. I can't see everyone. All right, so come all the way back. So here, let's come into tippy toes. How'd you do? Yeah, it's a challenging pose. But once you can, it's all about hugging the midline, connecting tailbone to head, breathing into your back, hugging into the center. And it's amazing how when you feel the connection of the energy centers in your body, how it floats. You float up. You don't even have to work it. You just breathe it up. It's not even about having strength. So come into a squat where you're on your toes. Good. You're going to lift your right arm up, cross it over. So today, I just want to prep it for a side crow. So we're not, I'll show it to you, but I'm not expecting you to do it. Just bring your hands onto the floor and begin to just go over onto your hands, hugging your legs together. So we're hugging in, hugging in, hugging in, so that you're lifting all the way up. Maybe. And then releasing, coming all the way back down. Just to begin to have a relationship with the pose. Parsva Bakasana. Good, so come here, even if we're just here, squatting, left arm is reaching, crossing over. So get this deep twist. Get this twist as far as you can so that your elbow is in the middle of your leg. Hold this, taking a nice deep breath, or you're going to take it a little bit further by bringing your hands onto the floor. And that may be where you are today, but you're in this deep twist. If you're taking it a little further, you're lifting up and over your hands, then coming back to center. Okay, come all the way onto the floor. Nice deep breath. Let's come into Upavista Konasana. Wide angle. Very important to inner spiral after all of that. Open up your lower back. Good, we're still hugging into the midline. I want you to take your hands to the outside of your shins. Press your hands into the outside of your shin and your shins, back to your hands. I want you to see how that begins to loosen your inner groins. Shins in, thighs back. But you gotta kind of get the shins in part to really feel that opening. Good, toes are sunny side up. Now release your hands from your shins, bring them to the center, and begin to walk your hands in front of you, breathing in. I want you to keep a flat back. We do enough rounded back. Nice flat back. and come all the way back up again. Left hand is on the inside of your left knee. You're pressing your hand into your knee, knee into your hand. Move the left head of the arm bow up toward the ear and back. It's only going to go a little bit, but you want to open the front body. Then bring the arm all the way up into a twist, into a stretch. Nice deep breath. We're not in the twist. Breathing in, right hip down. So one part is stable, the other part is opening. Breathing in. Good, release, and come all the way back up. Come back to center. You might be able to go a little further this time. Nice deep breath. Once again, lift into the rib cage. Engage your belly so you're keeping your hips down. Good. Shins in if you can. Hugging in. I do it without my hands, with the little toe mound being active. Little toe spreads. Hugging the shins in. That helps my inner groins come closer to the ground with safety. You want to make sure that your muscles in your legs, when you're doing this, are engaged, especially the hamstrings and the inner groins. Lift all the way back up. Right hand is on the inside of the thigh, inside of the leg. Leg to hand to arm, arm to leg. It's very active. Left hand reaches up. But here we want to keep the left hip down, engage the core to the lower back, twist a little bit, breathe in, a nice deep breath. Good. One more breath. Inhale and come all the way back up. Hands to the back of your head. Now here you want the head of the arm bone up and back. Don't bring your elbows out here because that juts the head of the arm bone forward towards the front body. We want it to the back body. Hand to head to hand, and come forward. Then add a little bit of the belly and bring the rib cage in so you're strengthening the middle part of your back. That's where we lose it. Middle part of your back, especially if you're a gal. Nice deep breath. Then inhale and come all the way back up and shake it out. Good. Bring your legs together in Dandasana and let your thighs just bounce a little bit. Good. Inner spiral. So we're going to take the left foot across so that it's onto the other side of your right knee, and inhale all the way up. Now for some that know that they can bring their right foot around, then do that. And you're going to lift your right arm up, cross it over, get low, get deep. Curl your back to go down on your leg, then lift all the way back up. Hug elbow to thigh, thigh to elbow, then twist. With a nice deep breath. Again, just taking that moment to feel the midline through your body. You're rotating around the midline. This may be a very deep rotation to you as it's towards the end of our class. But stay connected to that, your color, the midline. Then release and come all the way back to center. And while you're here, just take the top leg and let it relax take your left leg, relax it onto the top of your right leg into Agni Stambhasana, the fire logs. We did this in another class. Take your hands to the inside of your foot. Press your foot into your hand into your foot. Now come forward slightly and take the top of the thighs back. Good. Now when you have that, press your hand into your foot, foot into your hand, and then lift up a little bit more. Just opening the hip with a nice deep breath. Agni Stambhasana. Good. Then release and come all the way back. Both legs straight out. And the legs go off to the side, fingerprints down back of the palm, knuckles down. Come into a downward dog. And walk the dog with one heel up, one heel down. Again, letting the head of the arm bone lift up towards the sky. Then press your thighs back to the wall behind you. Then bring the rib cage up so that the middle part of your back is now engaged. Breathing in. And do whatever movement feels right to you. It could be your right leg lifts up. And then bring your right leg down, left leg lifts up. You're still hugging into the midline. You've never lost connection to that midline. Forearms come together, inner part of the legs come together, belly connects in. Good. Then release, come all the way back into a seated pose. And then Dandasana. Both legs straight out and inner spiral. Good. And just begin to feel how your body opens and expands with alignment. Cross your right over your left. You could bring your left leg across. Breathing in. So here, shift your torso so that it's over your right hip, because the right hip is not going to be as weighty as the left. See if you can balance some of that weight out. Left arm reaches, round your back to get deep onto the middle of your thigh. Now engage your belly. And as you lift up, open the head of the arm bone, especially the right head of the arm bone, up and back. You're rotating around the midline, hugging knee to arm, arm back to knee, engaging the belly, then twisting to the right. And again, you're breathing in, a nice deep breath. And you want to feel in these poses that are not quite as challenging as headstand, you want to feel that hug in. You want to feel that your body is able to connect the energy centers and open from that place of connection. So that when you do something that's a little more challenging, you already have that beginning to be cooking on the stove, as it will be. Nice deep breath. And release and come all the way back to center. For those that had your leg out, bring your left leg in, and now we're stacking the right leg on top of the left in Agni Stambhasana, the fire logs. So it's called fire logs because you'll feel it in your hips. A little bit of fire going in, right? Fingers to your toe, in the middle of your foot, to the toe mound part. You're pressing in. You may want to come forward to loosen, to just get a little bit more opening through the hip itself. When you feel that opening, lift all the way back up. Hugging again into the midline, pressing your little toe mound down into the foot or down into the floor to lift all the way back up. And breathe. A nice deep breath. Good. And then release. Come all the way back into a seated pose, into Dandasana, inner spiral. Bring your knees into your chest. Hug them in. Again, finding balance, lifting. You're going to have your toes spread in Navasana. Right leg lifts, comes all the way back and left. And back. Now my shins are hugging in. Up with the right, and back, and left. And back. Good. Release your hands. Come into a form of Navasana. You could also straighten your legs, whatever is in your practice. Open up a little bit more. Good. Then release. Come all the way back into a Baddha Konasana. Feet together. Good. And here, let's go back to making a circle. Moving all the way around. First in one direction. Good. Then in another. And one side may feel more restricted than the other. Just notice. Good. And then release, come all the way back. We're going to come onto our backs. And you're going to bring your knees into your chest. You can still see me here. Your left leg is going to go onto the floor. You're going to bring your hands to the inside of your knee, but hold on to the outside, your pinky toe side of your foot. And you're going to press your knee down towards the floor in happy baby. And press your right knee towards the floor, and then come off of that stretch. Not a straight leg yet. Press your knee down towards the floor. And again, you want to do this with breath, and you want to do this with a sense of ease. We're not trying to get anywhere other than experience alignment in the body, and also just this movement of energy. So this next time, you're going to straighten your leg and bring your right leg out to the side. And breathe. A nice deep breath. When you have your leg out to the side, move the right head of the arm bone up toward the ear and back, and bring the back part of the head of the arm bone towards the floor. Good. Then inhale your leg all the way back up. Cross your hands so that now your left hand is holding the outside of your right foot, and you're crossing your leg all the way over to the other side, keeping your right shoulder onto the floor. And breathing in. So you're crossing the right leg over your left hip. Then release that, come all the way back to center. Good, bring both knees into your chest, and you're going to circle your knees in one direction, and then circle in the other. I want you to pay attention to when you're losing your lumbar low back curve, or when you have it as you're moving in this circle. And move in the opposite direction. And we're switching our legs, so the right leg is going down onto the floor. You're bending your left knee. Your left hand is coming into the inside of the knee, holding the outside of your toes. And you're pressing your left knee towards the floor. Your right hand may be on your right hip, keeping your right hip down. Pressing in, and then releasing. Press the knee down towards the floor. Happy baby. And onto the floor. Press down. Again, breathe. Press down. Good. Then straighten the left leg. Bring your left leg to the left, holding on still to the outside of the pinky toe, your left hand. Let's get a good stretch here. You may pulse your toes towards your head. Then you're lifting your leg all the way straight up. Your right hand is now going to take the place of your left. Your left hand is onto the floor. You're going to move the left hand of the arm bone up toward the ear and back, and then cross the left over the right. Get a good IT stretch here, a good twist through your torso, left shoulder onto the floor, press into the big toe mound, presses away, little toe mound comes to your head. Then release that, come all the way back to center. Again, both knees come into your chest, hands onto your knees, and you're circling in one direction, and then you are circling in the other. Good. And then let both legs go straight onto the floor, and you're in Shavasana. Just allow yourself to feel the practice. Just take in what your body has taught you during this hour. My body always teaches me something every time I come to the mat. Let the breath connect into this marathon that we're in. Just take your time and connect into just with this deep breath as you move into connecting to the earth. May I be safe and protected. May I live with happiness of heart. May I have health and vitality of body. May I live with the ease of well-being. Allow small movements to come back into your fingers and back into your toes. Let your knees float up into your chest and hug them in, gently rocking from side to side. And then roll to one side as you pause for a moment and breathe into your own inner landscape, feeling the power of this open space, which is you. You at peace. You at one with your mind and your spirit and your body. And then continue the side roll all the way up to a seated pose, bringing your hands to prayer position at the heart center. You may go back to the lotus mudra if you would like, if that felt like something that resonated with you today. So just breathe into either the lotus or prayer, Anjali mudra, and together we'll do one Om. So take a breath in. May we have peace in our heart and peace in our mind and true and everlasting peace on this planet. Namaste. So namaste to you all. I hope you feel better. You always, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me. I'm here for your own growth and helping you with your practice. I always love to be able to do that. So feel free to email me or whatever. I think everyone has my email address.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Trying to do that headstand is very challenging with the space that.
Yeah, I know. But if you can do it with control, you can actually do it anywhere.
Well, I know that.
I know, that's what we're trying to get to.
All right.
Okay, we'll see you.